Welcome back to Arise Prime Time. I'm Charles Chidiogor, and now for her perspective and assessment of almost everything you've heard on the program today, I'm joined in the studio by the journalist, political affairs commentator, and Arise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikokwu. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with Buba Galadima and the NNPP. He was the first person on the show. Very entertaining, very interesting, but according to the results, the NNPP did not pose a serious threat to either the APC or the PDP in the north, in both the presidential and the governorship elections. What is your assessment of the reasons he gave for them not doing well in those places?
I mean, let's start by saying that Buba Galadima is a very dramatic, intensely dramatic personality. Although he does have salient views, sometimes he has, he makes sweeping statements, general statements that are questionable. Coming to the NNPP, I think we knew that even though Kwankwaso is a prominent figure in Kano State and in the north, he wasn't going to win the election.
Well, he reckons the media did him down.
Well, he always, Buba Galadima always has a response to any question that you have, and he plays around it. Sometimes he runs away from the question. He doesn't actually want to answer it. They weren't going to win the election, but they did well. They won Kano State, and they won the governorship as well. That is good. And I agree with him when he says that they have a future ahead of them. Very much so. They can begin to build now. From Kano, they can begin to branch into other states in the north and, possibly come to the center, to the south, and the southwest, the southeast, and the south-south. So that's what they have to do. Concerning this election, they didn't do well. Yeah,
that's clear enough. But do you support the argument that the reasons they gave for them, one of the reasons being that on the ballot box, they were not properly, on the ballot paper, they were not properly represented? I mean, is that a plausible argument?
That might have contributed a little bit, but it's not a major factor. It wasn't at all. They were not in the running in many states. And sometimes when politicians say things, I don't know if they actually believe what they are saying or they are just talking for the sake of talking. Come on, he knew that they were not going to win in Taraba, for instance, or Borno State, or Plateau State, in all those places. Like he also said, they had a short time, 8 months, to start as a party, and that is where I agree completely with him. So, work towards the future, and it's what it is for now.
What about their decision not to challenge the claims they made in court? I mean, we've seen the PDP, we've seen the Labour Party. His argument is that it wouldn't benefit them, that it would benefit someone else.
What are they challenging? They got, I think, just over 1 million votes. Labour Party got over 6 million, the same thing with PDP, and then the winner got
for instance, their non-appearance or the way they wanted on the ballot paper and all the rest of it, and the things that they said.
There are other ways to register, there's other to register at INEC and say, this shouldn't happen. I agree with him, it shouldn't happen. Everybody's logo should appear clearly on the ballot. If they're a registered political party and they are running, it should be very clear. I think, INEC might have done them dirty in that aspect, but it was not a factor that led to them losing the election.
Okay, well, let's move on to the new election battle that's coming up, which is going to be the presidency of the Senate. That South-South Solidarity group, you saw the gentleman there, Joseph Wyas. They're coming out in support of Senator Godswill Akpabio, but there are other people in the running, and their argument is that it should be zoned to the South-South. Do you support that argument?
I mean, you had an interesting conversation with Joseph Wyas. Not only South-South, the Southeast says it should be zoned for them. To them, even the Northwest says it should be zoned to them because
as well. That is
they contributed a lot of votes to the party, to win the election from, that region. So, I mean, we already do quota system and federal character in Nigeria, and we might as well continue to do that in politics. In this current government, so the president came from the north, the vice president from the Southwest, the Senate president from the North, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives from the Southwest. And then you had, in the judiciary, the Southwest now, Chief Justice of Nigeria. So it depends on the House whether they want to zone it or not. The plausible argument would be maybe zone it to the Southeast because they have been agitating to get the presidential seat for very many years in this country. But it depends on what they decide. The president-elect has said that he will not interfere in what's going on in the Senate. They make the decision and we see what happens. The other issue is, okay, if it is zoned or even if it's thrown open, who are the candidates are we looking at? Are they competent enough to carry it? I mean, you have mentioned some of the names, whether it's Akpabio, whether it's Oshiomhole, Umahi from Ebonyi State, or Josekalu from the East as well. So it depends.
Ibrahim Jibrin from the Northwest.
Yes.
You know,
the
Abdulaziz
interesting thing,
Yari
yes,
of Zamfara State.
most of them have been governors. Akpabio, former governor, Oshiomhole, former governor, the same thing with Umahi, the same thing with Josekalu. They all have political experience. They don't have the same level of integrity and character. Someone like Josekalu, for instance, even if it's zoned to the Southeast, a lot of people will tell you that he does not pull political weight in the East. And if you have a system that is not deeply flawed, where people actually get to the top by through proper processes, someone with like Josekalu will probably not be popular in the Eastern region, And then you go to David Umahi, for instance. He did well infrastructure-wise in his state, but he brooked no opposition at all. And then when he was chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, he did a poor job, especially at the height of the IPOB challenge and security problems in that region. So a lot of people think, that he was busy politically romancing President Muhammadu Buhari to the detriment of the Southeast. So we'll see. Let's see where they zone it and what happens. That's
a very interesting analysis. And you were talking about the Northwest, which also needs to be pacified. I mean, the candidate from there is Ibrahim Jibrin. One of them is from the Northwest. I mean, what is your assessment of his?
Well, the thing is, I think it's better to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
You already have someone from the Southwest who is going to be president if he's sworn in, and then you have the vice president already from the Northeast.
Yeah, from the Northeast.
He comes from the Northeast. Borno State. So you want. Again, people are talking about the Southeast again. There has to be some kind of balance and representation and inclusion. Yes, you might say that, Northwest candidates can also run, but in this current administration, we've had a Northwest president. So giving a Senate presidency to another region, part of the country, it's not going to break the country. It's going to sort of give a sense of inclusion in the political equation.
Good analysis. Thank you very much indeed. Dr. Constance Ikokwu is a political affairs commentator, journalist, and a Rise News analyst. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you.
And you have a good weekend. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again next week. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.